Hi there and welcome back to Diagonal Move. My name's Neil and today we are going to be back in the world of Undaunted North Africa, this time playing the game solo using the brand new Undaunted Reinforcements expansion. In a previous video I played this scenario, which is scenario number 7, the Libyan taxi service, playing both sides. As best I could to the best of my ability. And this video is going to be that same scenario, and I'm going to play it using the solo bot. And the reason I'm doing two different videos on the same scenario is I wanted to do the first video to highlight how the game plays for the player and to cover off as many of the actions as I can within the confines of the scenario. With this video though, I'd like to highlight more the solo element, which is going to be done using a series of cards that I'll show in a moment. And there's a reason why I didn't jump straight into showing both of these elements in one video. And that reason is because if you are relatively new to the game, as I am, I really got it primarily because of the solo mode and wanted to play it both sides. And I was fortunate enough to get given by Osprey Games a copy of the expansion. When you first play it, both parts of the base game and the expansion, there's quite a lot going on if you jump straight into the solo mode. It's by no means the most complex solo mode I've ever played, by no stretch of the imagination. However, there is a little bit of difference, and sufficient difference really to warrant a separate video focusing just on the expansion, and particularly how the solo works. There are some changes to certain actions. You have different setup for the solo mode, and then of course you do have the cards that control the bot, which I'll come on to in more detail as we go through. As with the previous video, the intention here is to give you a sense of how everything works rather than the minutiae of every single rule. I'll cover as much as I can. However, there isn't every rule in the game available for display in this scenario, so some things won't be in here, and other things I may well go and get slightly wrong, make a goof or two, and if I do, apologies in advance. Okay, before I jump into the main thrust of this video, just to say quickly, if you like what I do and you like this video, please click like, subscribe if you don't already, and comment if you choose to. I do try to answer all the comments on the videos that I make. So all that out of the way, let's crack on with this scenario. So it is scenario number 7. It's the Libyan taxi service. It's from the base game, and the scenario is that the long range desert group, which are the British side here, which is the side that I will be playing, are trying to get a secret agent through this run here of roadblocks and then off the map, or from this hex here. The secret agent is the scout, and from my point of view as the player, I am trying to get past those roadblocks and get off the board. And I'm going to try and do that before the Italians, here played by the bot, neutralize or kill that scout. Okay, so it's kind of a race against time, and from the British point of view there's a few challenges because you have to blow up both the roadblocks using a demolish action, which only 2 of the characters have, the engineer and the saboteur, both of whom are sat in the one truck at the moment. And in addition to roadblocks, the Italians do also have a tank. So that's going to be quite a challenge because you can only use anti-tank and demolish weapons against that tank rather than the usual regular weapons. Now, if you've never played this game before, I suggest you will pop over to the other video to get a sense of what some of these different actions and different terms mean, because I'm going to assume some familiarity with them in order to fully show the differences in the solo bot. And let's start then with how the game's set up. From the player's point of view, the setup is the same. You have your deck, you have your supply, which is kind of partly off camera due to the volume of stuff, and you have your board set up basically the same as it is in the 2-player mode. There are some differences in some scenarios as to how the setup works for the AI, but doesn't affect this particular scenario. The AI setup is different though. You still create a deck, and you create a deck using the cards and the rolls as specified in the scenario book. However, rather than having a supply like this, you have what are called bolster decks, and I will just pull these forward here just so you can see what they are. And these bolster decks are the cards that represent the characters in the game that are not in your deck. So these would normally be your supply. So you have the machine gunner, the rifleman, and so on in here. And each of these decks, and there may be one, there may be more depending on the scenario, will have the unit symbol identifying it. So we'll have the A deck for the regular army guys, and then the T deck for the tanks, the tank crew. And you'll separate those out into different decks. You'll shuffle them up, and they will be a bolster deck. And that's where the officers on the Italian side will take cards from when they need to do bolster actions and so on. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use dice just to show which deck is which, because they are obviously going to be face down during the game. So the green one will be for the tank, and the white one will be the regular army guys. You don't get dice in the game, it's just a way of representing that on the screen. Okay, the other thing you need to think about with setup, and this does vary for each scenario, is you need to get the AI cards or the AI system that's going to control the characters. And these are these large kind of tarot sized cards here. You will have one for each of the characters in the game, plus one for each of the officers and the recon aircraft as required in the scenario. Okay, each of these cards, and let's just pick this one for demonstration, will have a number here, and that number in the top right represents the scenario that this card relates to, and the number will differ depending on the card that you have. So for example, this anti-tank rifleman card, hope there's not too much glare there, is specific to scenario 7. The reverse of that is specific to scenario 5, and for each of the scenarios in the base game that have the anti-tank rifleman in it, you'll have a card for that character, and that is true for all of the characters in the game. So one of the first things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find the right characters for with the right scenario, and then you can see the differences there. Make sure you got the right side of the card. Now, how do these things work when you're in play? Well, the first thing you'll do is you'll have the deck, and the deck will activate in a set order, which I'll come on to that how that works in a moment. But when the card activates in the player display, or the AI display, you'll do, if you can, the first line, and it will say something like, if the board state meets a condition, do this action. If you can't, move on to the next one, and there may be different clauses like we have here. If you can't do that, you move on to the next one, and then on to the next one, and you basically do the first one that is in the priority for the character to do, according to the bot's AI. And that does differ per scenario, which is why you have different cards for the different scenarios. So there are different objectives that the AI is trying to achieve, just like there would be in a real game. Now, there are differences to some of the actions as well. The most notable one is the scout action, in which you do place a card face down in the AI display when you do the scout action. We'll come on to that if we need to. And there is differences in how the command action works, and also in the combat for the player as well. But again, we're going to do all these things as we come through, but they're really the main things that I can think of right now without getting into the game in terms of the key differences. Let's start the game then. And in the first instance, what you do is you draw 4 cards for the player as normal. Okay, and you choose your initiative. In this scenario, the initiative is with the Italians, as it is in the regular version of the game of the scenario. And I won't go through exactly how the player side works, because I've done that other video, but we'll concentrate more on this. So I'm going to choose, I want to make sure that my scout survives, basically. So that's going to mean really getting across those roadblocks as quick as possible before the tanks start coming in. So I think what I'll do is I will use my scout for his relatively high initiative, and bid for that initiative. So that's my initiative bid for the opening move. You then take the top card of the AI deck, which in this case is an 8. So the AI has won the initiative, and what that means is the card that the AI has played, if it wins the initiative, you keep that card in the display. You don't discard it like you do normally. In the event that the AI loses, you do discard. But there are different difficulty settings that can vary exactly how the AI responds to the initiative draw. But in the standard game, which I'm doing here, if the AI wins the initiative, you keep the card that you used for the initiative. Then you draw the cards as normal, and it's the same number. And then what you have to do is you sort them in order of their initiative. So we have the recon aircraft first, the tank gunner, the tank crewman, and then the anti-tank rifleman, which may be slightly off screen now, but hopefully you can still see that. The recon aircraft with the highest initiative value will go first, and the card that controls the recon aircraft will now tell you which of these actions it will do. And so here we have the choices. So the first choice is the fog of war in play area. Scout not in play area, you do the recon action. But we don't have a fog of war in our play area, and so we're going to strafe. And strafe is the action whereby you attack the scout or the target, but without the cover bonus that you would normally have for the tiles. So the scout is in the back of the pilot truck, which is currently up here. So we're just going to roll a die, and on a 7+, we hit that pilot truck and roll a 7. So the scout has been attacked. The pilot truck takes the damage, and the scout on my side has to take that wound. Now we look first, as before, look in hand, nothing in hand. We do have that one in the discard, meaning our scout is now out of the game. And that presents a challenge, because the next hit will obviously potentially eliminate the scout, because currently all the scout cards are in the deck still. It's not in the deck, they're in the supply. So that's slightly tricky, I think. Oh, actually, we do have one in the deck, looking at the number there, so we're not too bad at the moment. But the recon card is done, so we just pop that on the discard pile as normal. Apologies, there's not a huge amount of space here. There's the discard. Next up, we have the tank gunner, and here we have the tank gunner's card. So I'm not sure if you're going to be able to read this, but it says there's like a box at the top that's outlined. That is an always applicable effect. So in this case, if the medium tank is disabled more than 3 damage, the gunner acts as a rifleman, not a normal gunner. But in this case, we have full strength. The tank is in the bottom row of the tiles just there. And it says the seat's vehicle action is anti-tank, and enemy vehicle with a total armor defense value of less than or equal to 7 do the anti-tank action. So this is where we have to do a little bit of calculation. We have the vehicle, the guy is in the anti-tank space of the tank. We have a 4 defensive value on that pilot truck. And then we do need to do the cover, but there's no cover. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7. So in this instance, we will anti-tank. So we'll do that first row, okay? Or the first numbered row anyway. And then it says the vehicle with the enemy scout is preferential to a dangerous unit, which is preferential to a lower total defense, and finally random. So what that means is, if you can target the enemy scout, you do. Failing that, you target the dangerous unit. Now, each of these scenarios has a table that highlights which unit the AI will target depending on the circumstances. So for Italy, in this scenario, the scout is the preferential target for any, well, most attacks, you know, followed by the staff sergeant, the engineer, and so on. Were I playing the Italians and the AI was controlling the LRDG, that would change to this yellowy table here. But for now, the dangerous unit criteria isn't applicable because we're shooting at the scout anyway. The value on the tank for an anti-tank action is 3 dice. So 3 dice hitting on a 7 plus, and we've got a 7. So as before, we do a damage. And we have to get rid of that scout card. There's none there. We don't have a discard currently. So let's rummage through our deck. And with luck, we have a scout card that we now discard out of the game, meaning we are off to a less than ideal start as the LRDG. Move down the row. The gun has been now for the crewman, the tank crewman that is. We take the tank crewman's card, and here we have another one of those things which says if the tank is destroyed, resolve the crewman as a rifleman. Then we have priorities, and the priority is vehicle with 3 or greater damage. No, that's not the case. Enemy scout with a defense value of less than or equal to 6, we attack, but that's not the case. Total defense value of less than or equal to 6, again not the case. Seats vehicle action is suppress, which it is. An enemy with a total defense value of less than 8, which it would be because we found in the previous turn it was a 7. So we do action number 4, or row 4 of the command line, and we suppress. Again, focusing first on dangerous units, followed by lower total defense, and then random. So 4 dice against the pilot's truck. We've rolled a 9, which means we have hit the truck. Because this was a suppress action rather than an attack action or a anti-tank action, we don't damage the truck, we just suppress the scout as normal, which would mean the counter would flip over. And the scout can now not do anything until the relevant character's card is flipped over to remove the suppression. So that is the tank crewman done. We move on then to the anti-tank rifleman, who has that card I showed earlier. And here, of these actions that we're going to choose, we are going to look at enemy defense with an armored value of greater than 7, less than or equal to 7, which we had before. And so therefore we will do the first one. We'll anti-tank for 2, again shooting at the vehicle carrying the enemy scout in order of preference. So we were a 4 for the base value, plus 0, plus 1, 2, 3, that's 7. So the anti-tank character who's currently sat in the scout car is going to use his action rather than the vehicle action to shoot anti-tank at the pilot truck. We've got a 0, which in this case counts as a 10, far more than the 7 required to do the damage. Anti-tank does damage, meaning the vehicle is disabled. And I think our scout is dead. Wow, which is a very, very quick end to the game. Yeah. Wow, that's the quickest game ever. That is a brutal end to the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset and start again, and hopefully we'll get a bit further into the scenario. Okay, scenario's been reset. Let's hope we have slightly more longevity this time. So as before, let's take 4 cards to work out my initiative play for the game, and let's really try not to die quite so soon. So in this time, I really would like to win the initiative, so I'm going to play my lieutenant, purely, if nothing else, to show some moves on the LRDG side. So as before, take the top card of the deck, and we've got a scout. So we have won the initiative, which is good. In this case, the scouts card, or the initiative card for the AI, they lost the initiative. They discard as normal. There are variations to that depending on whether you're playing on hard, easy or normal, but I find normal quite challenging on its own. Okay, so my turn as the player, and I've got the cards, so I'm just going to do my turn relatively quickly. So I will bolster, grabbing probably the 2 scout cards to ensure that we don't die pretty much straight away. Then I think the engineer who sat in the front seat of the gun truck, he's going to drive onto that space where the first roadblock is, like so. And then finally the staff sergeant there. I think what we'll do is we will, the staff sergeant's in the pilot truck, let's drive him over as well so that everybody's in the same place. Okay, awesome. That is the turn for the LRDG. I'll just leave them there so that I know that I've played, and then we'll do the 3 cards for the AI, and we set them out in that order that we did before. So we have a tank commander, a rifleman, and the fog of war. The fog of war is the same. It junks up the AI hand. So wherever possible, we want to junk up the AI hand with various actions that can do that. So first thing that happens then is the tank commander. Now the tank commander shares a card with the squad leader, which is slightly confusing at first, but it's fine once you remember that the medium tank commander and the squad leader are the same card. So we look to inspire the next 2 matching cards in the play area. There are a few terms that we will come across, some of them as we go through, I'm sure this time, which detail what the AA will do and when. And one of the terms is matching. And what that means is a card from the same unit. So in this instance, the tank commander, if it could, would inspire another guy from the tank units, which basically means that they would go twice. But we can't do that because we've only got a rifleman and a fog of war, rifleman not being a tank unit. So we would instead go to bolster matching. And bolster matching just means take a card from the relevant deck. So matching, again, got to get that T. So we want 2 cards from the tank deck, basically, or the tank bolster deck. So that's the first one. And it does actually say to do it twice, which is why we're drawing 2 cards. There we go, 2 extra cards into that discard. Then we have the rifleman, who is initiative value 5. And the rifleman, who is actually sat in that roadblock just there, surrounded by the British troops, will, if there is an enemy scout with a total defense value of less than or equal to 6, will attack that scout. The defense value of the pilot truck is a 7 for regular arms, so we won't be doing that one. And then we have select destination within 1 tile that's scouted, select tile with enemy scout destination, select destination closer to the enemy scout, move to the destination. Okay, so we do either A or B if we can, but we're already on the same tile as the scout, so we move to tile 3, which says enemy on the tile, attack. Now, when there is no preference to the attack, you would normally, as far as I understand it anyway, just shoot at the one with the lower defense value. However, both the two trucks are the same in terms of their defensive value. They're both 7. So what I'll do is I will shoot the AI at the pilot truck, because that is where the scout is, and that would match the defensive value. So I'll roll that die, aiming for a 7+, and we've got a 5. There was no cover, so that's fine, but he's missed anyway. And then the fog of war's just discarded. I've taken my turn as the player, so we move on to the next turn. I held the initiative. It's 4, so let's see what we've got. I really want to keep that initiative if I can. Let's use the rifleman, I think. Let's use the rifleman for the initiative. Again, I will keep those cards to one side just for now. And the bot has initiative value of 3. That gets discarded. And I'll just place their 3 cards there so that I remember where I am. The anti-tank rifleman does get discarded too, as normal. So we have the gunner, the scout. Well, the first thing I'll do with the scout is I will recon and get rid of the fog of war. The recon action for the player is exactly the same. You discard the fog of war from hand out of the game. Next up is the machine gunner, and I will attack. Okay, so I've got a value of 2, and I'm going to attack that rifleman who's on the same space. He has a value of 4 as a defense. There's no cover bonus. No cover bonus for the structures still, and we're on the same tile, so it's simply a 4+ on 2 dice. And we've got a 4, which is, just. So we have hit that rifleman. Successfully attacking a bot unit. You do the search to discard, then the bot deck, then the bolster decks. Now there is an FAQ, which, as I understand it, should there be any cards in the play area from a previous action, which would happen with the recon action, you would check that before you do the bolster decks, but that's not applicable in this case. Okay, so I'm just moving these cards off to one side because in theory I should have drawn those slightly later in the turn. First thing we do is we check the discards. We check the discards for a rifleman who's here, and he's now out of the game. We do have the initiative, and this is different. So the initiative now, we've done damage on the rifleman. And because we've done damage on the rifleman, we need to place a control marker. And the next time there is a cards in the play area, if there is a rifleman, we remove it, we discard it. If there's no rifleman, we take the counter off anyway, because there's it's no longer applicable. But basically, you get to not only do you eliminate the card that you've attacked, you also get to prevent it from doing anything next turn as well, potentially. So that's okay. Hope that makes sense. Hopefully it may or it may not come up. Here are the 3 cards that we've drawn for the bot's turn. The squad leader, the tank driver, and the fog of war. And they are played in initiative order value. Remembering the squad is the same as the tank commander, so we will inspire if we can, but we don't have another matching squad A card, so we move on to the bolsters, and we bolster 2 from the regular army deck. Then we do the tank driver, and again there is a card indication in a box there that says do not count rough terrain when determining how close the scout is, and that's an effect for this scenario, because that would be slightly different for other scenarios where you don't have to worry so much about the scouts. And what that would mean is you wouldn't worry about the terrain that the vehicles can't go on when working out how close or how far away the scout is. So first priority then for the driver is greater than 4 damage. Get out. There's no damage. Not in a vehicle, but we are, so ignore that. Vehicle action is drive. Choose destination within 1 tile that is scouted and closer to the enemy scout. Okay, so that's the action we'll do. We are in the driving seat, and so we'll move 1 space closer to the enemy. And then the fog of war gets removed. We also need to take away that command token because we don't have a lasting effect. It's just if there was a card that turn that we would have been able to remove had it been a rifleman in the player area. So next turn, we keep the initiative. So I've drawn my hand, and we keep the initiative this turn, and I want to keep that initiative as much as possible, so I'm going to use my Staff Sergeant as the initiative bid, and then the AI is drawn a 9. Great. They get to go first. Okay, so I lose my card. The AI doesn't. Right, okay. Just shuffling my cards there. So the AI gets to go first, and we draw 3, placing those 3 into the play area. That looks scarily like it did last time. Okay, so the platoon sergeant, then the boss, he will, when I find the correct card, he will, on a roll of 1 to 4, bolster A and T, or 5 to 10, he will command for 2. So let's roll the die. We've rolled a 2, so he's bolstering 1 card from each of those decks. So that's 1 regular guy and a tank crew. The recon aircraft will take a turn. Now this was the one that started all the damage in the previous attempt at this scenario. Fog of war in the play area, there's no fog of war, so we'll strafe again, attacking the enemy scout. So on a 7+, we damage, and we've got a 4. No joy for the Italians there. The tank gunner. Okay, the gunner. These cards were nice and neat at the start of this video. The gunner. Okay, no issue with the boxed text there. There's no damage on the tanks. We need to worry about that. Vehicle action is anti-tank. It's in the main turret. Enemy vehicle is within sufficient distance to be less than 7 again. Therefore, we anti-tank, targeting the vehicle with the scout. Okay, so we have a 4 for the anti-tank value or the armoured value, and then it's no cover, so 5, 6, 6+, with 3 dice, and we do a damage on that scout. No damage. That is surprising, but we'll roll with that. Finally, the crewman. Okay, medium tank is not destroyed, so we don't worry about that. We are in no need to repair. The enemy scout does have a value of 6 or less. No, it doesn't, because it's a regular attack with the crewman. Remember, it's not with the main turret. So we jump all the way down to number 4. We have suppress. So we're going to suppress again with a value of less than or equal to 8, which we do. So no, that's not true either, is it? Because it's a 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so it's a 9. So okay, so we're doing the last one, which is a 1 to 5 is repair, or roll 6 to 10 is suppress anyway. So we can't repair. There's no point. So there's no point rolling. So we will just do the suppress on that scout with 4 dice, and we need 9s and 10s to do the suppress action. And we got a 10. So we suppress as we did in the previous play attempt at this scenario. Don't do any damage, but we do flip that scout over. And now it is my turn. After what feels like quite a challenging turn now. We have a saboteur, the scout, and a warrant officer. So first thing I'm going to have to do, discard the scout to flip that back over. The warrant officer will bolster for 2, and I feel a need to get those demolition actions up. So one for the engineer and one for the saboteur. And finally, the demolition guy, who is sat in the navigate seat of the gun truck, has a decision. We can navigate as normal to get sight of what's beyond the roadblock, or we can try and blow up the roadblock, which just sounds like more fun, doesn't it? So 2 dice, hitting on a 7+. And we've rolled a 9. So the roadblock is no more, which is farther than we got last time, isn't it? Okay, next turn. I do want to keep that or get that initiative, but I do also want to bolster my deck up. Let's use one of those scouts, I think, as the initiative bid. Initiative bid for the Italians is a 2, so I do get the initiative. That is discarded. We'll shuffle the deck and go from there, I think. Okie dokie. So 3 cards to play. We have the scout, the engineer, and the lieutenant. Okay, challenging issue now. We can't move until we've done the necessary action to scout the tiles. The scout can't scout unless he gets out of the car because his seat has no action on it. The engineer's in the front, so he can only drive. This is a problem. Let's command for 2, which will give me some more options, I hope. And yeah, we've got the anti-tank rifleman, who is sat in the seat in the pilot truck, which has a navigate ability. However, sadly, he's also the only one that can do any more damage against that tank, which is rapidly approaching. So let's just use him for the navigate, though. I feel we should be navigating to try and make a break for it. There we go. We've navigated much of the way to the exit. The engineer will now drive, and we can drive too with that engineer sat in the gun truck. The gun truck's the wrong one to move, really. But I want to go and take out that other roadblock if we can, so the gun truck's moving there. And then it seems we have 2 scout cards, so both of those scouts are going to do conceal, which will be popping 2 fogs of war in as normal. Into the AI deck, that is. Okay, AI. Now they lost the initiative, so they draw 3. Recon again. Okay, so the sergeant has the higher initiative value with 9, so he will go first. And I will find the card, which tells me he's going to roll 1 to 4 and bolster, otherwise command. Got a 4, so we're going to bolster 1 from each deck. The recon aircraft will, I think it's probably going to recon that fog of war card out of the game. Let's just see that. Yeah, so fog of war in the play area and scout not in play. Recon. We're going to recon that card out of the game. Recon is a different action for the bot compared to what it would normally be. So we use the card, the aircraft card, to recon, which means get rid of that as normal. However, what you also do is you take a card from the deck and you place it face down in the play area, and it stays there until you play the bot's next turn, in which case it's flipped up as part of its normal hand. So it takes away a fog of war, and then it reveals more stuff to use against you. But for now, that turn is over, and we need to shuffle the LRDG deck and get cracking on the next turn. Okay, so the LRDG really want to bust through that roadblock again and hopefully pull a staff sergeant as well to drive the pilot truck out that door. But as it is, we don't have one of those, but we could possibly break through the roadblock. So let's use our scout for the initiative bid, because that's probably the least useful person at the moment in terms of actions. So let's do that. The card here was from last turn, not used now for the initiative. We draw initiative, it's a 3, so that's discarded. Okay, now when I said before about combat and you have to look at the deck, at the discards of the deck, the bolsters, if there's one here, you look at that as well. That's in the FAQs as far as I understand it. But prior to any combat-y type things that might happen next, let's do our actions for winning the initiative. And yeah, I think the first thing we're going to do is demolish the next roadblock with the saboteur who sat with the engineer in the gun truck. The reason we're going to do that is because we could drive with the engineer if we're successful. So that's what we'll do. Demolish 4-2 on the roadblock there, which has a strength of 7. You rolled a 10. Excellent. Nice and easy through that roadblock. One of those plans that come together. Engineer then will drive. He's in the front seat, he'll drive too, but can only go as far as the next tile. There is nobody in that light truck in this scenario, not yet anyway. Then the gunner's turn. The gunner, what's the gunner do? Gunner's going to suppress. We don't want to, really don't want to have that Italian gunner who sat there shooting at us as we retreat. So I'm going to roll 4 dice to suppress. The gunner actually has an anti-tank weapon in his vehicle. He's in the back of that truck too. But we'll suppress. And we'll suppress for 4 + 1 for the distance. There's no cover again. And so on 4+, we've suppressed, which we have rolled in 10s. So that's suppressed, and we just need to flip that back over because that shouldn't be controlled. Okay, awesome. I don't think the control marker's placed with suppressed units because it's an attack action that causes that, and we are suppressed. I know it's an attack action or a combat action, but it's not attack. So I'm assuming it's not placed. The control token's not placed. I'm probably talking nonsense there. Don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Let's assume that's correct. We will reveal the 3 cards for the Italians, and we will keep the card that was there from the previous recon action in front of us. Move them into initiative order, which means the tank commander's going first, and then the rifleman, and then the rest of the tank crew. Okay, the tank commander is going to, I suspect, inspire, but let's just find the card to be sure. Yeah, inspire the next 2 matching cards. Okay, so the tank gunner and the tank crewman do inspire. So they're going to be flipped on their side. They will take that action, flip back, and then finish. So they'll do 2 actions each this turn. Tank commander though is done. The next up we have a scout. He's going to go first before the inspired tank crew. We haven't had a scout so far. Well, the scout will move on to well, let's start again. We have got a scout next. Now the scout will go before the inspired tank crew because of the higher initiative value, and we will pay attention to the fact that whenever a scout moves onto an unscouted tile, we scout it as before. Now, the scout is currently sat in the front seat of the car here, so we will see what happens there. But in terms of its actions, the first thing is the fog of war in the play area. No. Scout car has greater than 4 damage. No. Enemy scout with a total defense value of less than or equal to 6. No. Miles away. And also with the regular defense of 7. Seat's vehicle action is drive. It is indeed. Select tile with enemy scout as destination. Select destination closer to enemy scout. So that would be closer this way. Well, we can't drive straight up here, so we are going to have to go this way, because the scout is in that truck still, not that truck. So we will move forward to join our tank. We can't go any further than that, so even though we do have the drive function with a value of 2, we are only going to go that one space where the scouting card is. The tank gunner then, the first action. Oh, I wonder if he's going to shoot. I bet he's going to shoot, isn't he? Or anti-tank us to death. Yeah, the tank gunner. Okay. Seat vehicle action is anti-tank. Yep, that turret is going to attack us. It's going to hit on a 4, 5, 6 plus with 3 dice twice. Okay, so first action. Yeah, hit us. That seemed far too easy. So the scout's going to take some damage. Yeah, discard a card. And that was the first action. The inspired action comes next, which is going to be the same thing. And we rolled 7 and 8, meaning that action has also wounded our scout. I wonder if there are any more in here. Are there any more in here? Well, there's none in the discard. Are there any in here? Oh yeah, we've got a few left. That's okay then. Won't be able to take too many more hits like that, but the crewman goes next. Crewman, where is the crewman? The crewman. Okay, tank's not destroyed, so we don't worry about the boxed text. No damage to the tank, so enemy scout is going to get attacked. With the attack value, is it a 6? No, it's not, because I keep forgetting this. This is a subtle thing that I think it's because I just assume the tank can shoot with a turret, but the attack on the tank is not a turret attack, so it's not an anti-tank, so it attacks at the 7 value. On here it attacks at the regular defense, not the armored defense. So in this instance the tank crewman would not attack, but it will suppress, which is 4 dice for the vehicle action, and as before. Yeah, so 9, 7, 8, 9. Yep, scout is suppressed. The scout crewman is going to, the tank crewman even is going to go again with his inspired action. Now we will end up suppressing again, which is interesting because the guy's already suppressed. So I think we will be trying to suppress somebody else. So we'll shoot at the same truck, and then we will be trying to suppress the anti-tank guy because they have the lower total defense. But we do need to check the dangerous unit table before we assume that. And in this scenario, the dangerous unit after the scout is the staff sergeant. So let's try and suppress that staff sergeant. 4 dice on a... Well, we've rolled a 9, so that's fine. Staff sergeant is sat in the front seat of the pilot truck, so they are suppressed. Okay. Next turn. We do have the initiative currently. We don't have a staff sergeant who would be useful for driving. We do have an anti-tank guy and an engineer, but they're all the way over there, and the scout is borderline useless unless he gets out the truck, to be honest. Let's do that. Let's get out the truck if we can, so we'll keep that one, and we'll use the saboteur for the initiative bid. And the initiative for the Italians is a 2, so we have won that initiative bid. Outstanding. So yeah, let's use the scout then. We'll get out and we will leg it across the board. So we've got out the truck, which is a free action, except we can't because he's suppressed. So we will need to discard that card, flip it up for being suppressed. Bang goes my best laid plans, frankly. Okay, so the gun truck then. Both guys here, the anti-tank rifleman and the engineer, are both sat in the gun truck, which is there. We will need to scout that tile to escape. So I think that's what we'll do. I think we will scout, navigate using the anti-tank guy. No, we can't. Oh my goodness. The anti-tank guy is there. Everything's falling apart all of a sudden. Right. Okay, so change of plan again. The anti-tank chap is going to shoot anti-tank at the tank. So that is going to be 5, 6, 7. No cover bonus. So 2 anti-tank, 7 or greater, nothing. Okay, and then the engineer, I think we will, I think we'll just shoot at that gunner, to be honest. So a roll of one die, a roll of a 5 plus 2, nothing. Wow, that's not so great shooting, is it? Italians then, 3 cards. We have a machine gunner, anti-tank rifleman, and the squad leader. So the squad leader will do something. The squad leader will inspire the next 2 matching cards in play. So basically, these 2 guys are both part of the same unit. They will both be inspired to do 2 things. So the first action then is going to be spent flipping over that sabotaged or suppressed gunner. The gunner then, for the first time in this scenario, will do something. Enemy scout with a total defense value of 6 or less, no. Enemy with a total lower defense value of less than 6, yes. No, because they're all in vehicles, and the vehicles have a regular defense of 7, okay. Enemy with total defense value of 8 or less, that is going to be the gun truck. And the dangerous unit would be first inside that gun truck, and the dangerous unit is the it's the engineer. I'm going to shoot at the engineer with 4 dice. On 7 plus 1 is an 8 plus. We've rolled nothing. Oh, that's good. Okay. The anti-tank rifleman for the bot then. The anti-tank rifleman is sat in the scout car, so he's not a million miles away from that scout of ours. Enemy vehicle with total armor defense value of less than 7 or 7 or less, anti-tank. Prioritizing the enemy scout again. So 4, 5, 6, and we roll 2 dice, aiming to get a 6 plus. Yep, got a 7. So we damage the truck, disabling it, and then we do some harm to that scout. Okay, that is now the 3rd card out of the game. 1 more, and the guy is gone. Okay. 4 cards, lots of high initiative. I want to keep the initiative. They have played from memory the recon and the squad leader, so let's play the scout as the initiative bid. A 3, so that's fine. I think we need to get some more guys into our cars. We can spend the staff sergeant. Except the vehicle is damaged too, but let's get him back up to speed anyway. The warrant officer and the lieutenant can all bolster. Let's take this opportunity to bolster as much as we can. So that's a total of 5 between the 2 cards. And I think we'll grab the staff sergeants for driving actions for 3, and then the anti-tank rifleman for a spotter protection against the tank. So that's the player turn done, and on to the bot. We have a 3, a 5 and a 1. Rifleman goes first, regular rifleman that is. Okay. Defense value of less than 6, no. We are on the tile with the enemy scout, so anyone on the tile, attack. So 1 die against that vehicle, aiming at the scout. So it's a 7 plus with the scout as the target. Mod of 3, nothing. That's good for us. The gunner. The scout does not have a defense less than 6. There is no enemy with a defense less than 6, so we will suppress again, suppressing a dangerous enemy, and the dangerous enemy is again going to be the scout. I think if the distance works, 7. No, the distance doesn't work, so we're going to hit this truck, aiming at the engineer, I believe it was. Yep, the engineer. We've rolled a 7, but we needed an 8, so that's fine. We have no harmful damage from that bot turn. Scout. I'm going to struggle to repair that truck. I think we need to get the scout out of the truck. I really do. But then we're going to put it into the risk with the... I think we need to get all the guys out of the truck. Okay, let's use the saboteur who's currently over on the gun truck to bid 5. They've got a 2, so we go first again. Yeah, I think we're going to struggle to repair that pilot truck, so we'd be better off running rather than trusting to luck or some other means of repairing. Does mean we're going to have to run the gauntlet somewhat of those guys there, but let's hope we can do something about that. So the scout's going to get out of the truck and then going to scout for those 2. So the scout's here, we'll get out of the truck for 3 and then go 2. Already scouted, so we don't need to place those tokens down. Staff sergeant's going to do the same. Going to get out of the truck and then we'll scout 1 to this space, and then is actually going to I'm then going to scout again, I think, to be honest, because yeah, let's scout again, just to get them over there to try and help. If we can get the scout into that vehicle, we could possibly escape, but we've only got 1 scout card and a big pile of cards. Maybe not. Anyway, the bot 7, 3 and 1. The tank guy is probably going to inspire, if I remember correctly. One thing I found with this bot is because some things are very similar. So the tank commander, the squad leader, very similar each scenario. Other characters not so much. So some things are easy to remember, other things I'm finding less so. Anyhow, we can't inspire, but we can bolster twice from the tank bolster deck. Get that tank moving. The gunner then, the gunner is going to enemy with a total defense value of less than or equal to 6, and that is the scout they're referring to. So 2 shots on that scout. I think we are potentially nearing the end of the game. No, that scout has escaped. The guy has missed at point blank range, which is remarkable. So, my turn. Nope, sorry, it's the new round, isn't it? Because we won the initiative last time. Let's use one of those engineers. It's a low bid, but I want that anti-tank rifleman to do some damage to one of the, probably the tank, I think, or maybe even the vehicle over there. But let's see. We'll bid 2, hope for the best, and 1. Fantastic. We keep the initiative. So the anti-tank rifleman is going to get out the car and move as the first action, because we did have 2 of those, so that's the first one. The second one will then be to we can't suppress with that guy, so let's just move, put distance between us and that tank all round. The engineer, what's the engineer going to do? We still have not scouted that. That's a problem. I think the engineer will attack, so a roll of 5+ will damage that gunner. Can't suppress it. A 10, so the gunner is damaged. Is there a gunner? Nope. Find the gunner. There's the gunner. Right, gunner is out of the game. And 3 cards for the bot. When you do the harder modes, you can have a mode where you keep the 4th card all the time, and you can actually make it easier by they discard the 4th card all the time as well. But this mode here I quite like because it's kind of nicely in the middle for me. But we do need to play that rifleman. Scout with a total defense value of 6 or less. No. Within 1 tile that's scouted, but we don't, so we're going to have to attack because we can't move. There's no scouting done there for the Italians, so we'll just shoot from that distance, hitting on a 6, 7, 8. So on an 8 or higher. Roll a 5, that's no damage. And then the crewman is going to go twice. No need to repair. Scout's got higher than 6 from that distance. We'll suppress. And we will suppress for 4 dice, I think it is. Yep, 4 dice, aiming at the scout again. So we are 6, 7, 8, 9. 9+. Nope. Okay, and we'll have to do that again for the second crew action. Yeah, we have now suppressed the scout. That's problematic. Next turn. The saboteur is in the navigate seat of that truck. Let's use the lieutenant to bolster those guys. So we will use the warrant officer for the initiative. I want to keep that initiative now if possible, all the way, a 4. So yeah, we keep it again. The lieutenant will bolster 3 and we'll take all 3 of those, sorry, 2 of those remaining saboteurs, plus the machine gunner, I think. That's the lieutenant's action. The anti-tank rifleman is on the same space as the gunner, so I will shoot that gunner for 1, just a regular attack. So on a 4+, or an 8. Is there a machine gunner in here somewhere? No. Yep, there's the machine gunner. Another machine gunner card discarded. Give that a shuffle. And then for our gunner, I think what I'll do is I'll actually try and suppress that gunner, so that it doesn't do any movement. We have less to worry about, don't we? Yeah, we've got 10. It should have been a 5 to hit, so we're fine. So that guy is suppressed. Cool. What's 10? Anti-tank, rifleman, the crewman, and the squad leader. So the squad leader will inspire, I think, if I can remember that correctly. Yeah, inspire the next 2 matching. There's only 1 matching, so just the anti-tank rifleman will go next. So the squad leader's done. The crewman will suppress again. We've just done that, so that will be another one. Rolling 9, but we'll be aiming at the staff sergeant. That's next in the dangerous list. No joy that time. And then the anti-tank rifleman will do 2 actions. And the first one will be vehicle with armoured defence. Yes, less than 7. Doesn't seem to make much sense though, to be honest, to be shooting at an empty truck. So we'll go on to the next one. No enemy on the tile. Scout with total defence value of less than 6. Nope. Navigate. And yes, the anti-tank guy can navigate. So we will select the tile, the enemy scouts the target, and then navigate basically. So we'll navigate for 2, giving the these guys a route now to get to those guys of mine, which is going to be increasingly problematic. 3 cards, so give it a shuffle. The staff sergeant has 2 of those, so I'll use him as the bid. And the Italians have got an 8. That's a draw, meaning I keep the initiative, which I'm quite pleased about. So the staff sergeant, a saboteur, and a gunner. Staff sergeant can scout for 1, but we've got to get over there first. So let's do that. Let's play the staff sergeant to scout. But that's already scouted, so we don't need to place the token. The gunner. Actually, before I do that, staff sergeant's going to get in that truck. So the staff sergeant is now in the front seat of the Italian's truck. With luck, we'll have the scout in the back seat of that truck fairly soon too. The saboteur and the machine gunner, we don't need to suppress anybody. Do you know what? I don't think I'm going to do anything with these guys, so I'm going to pop them back in the supply, hunker down with both those, try and get more frequency of cards that I want come through. The AI has a 6, a 4, and a 2, meaning the scout, the gunner, and the anti-tank rifleman. So the scout, I suspect, will be driving. There's no fog of war, no damage. We drive, move closer to the enemy scouts, basically. So we are in the front seat. We will drive 2 towards the enemy. 1, 2. The tank gunner, I would be very surprised if we didn't start shooting with that tank gunner. Okay, we will be shooting the tank gunner, but we'll be doing it with a regular action. So 1 die, rolling on 6, 7, 8, 9, so 9 plus. It's 2, no. The anti-tank rifleman is in the scout car, so the guy in the scout car will attack. We will attack. It says move. Do I get out of the car and move, or do I attack? Tricky one. We're in the vehicle. It just says select destination within 1, but it's not scouted. Okay. So we'll actually do action number 4, which says vehicle action is navigate, which it is, and then we can navigate. Oh, it's already navigated, so we can't do that. So it says move. We would have to get out of the car to move. I'm not sure if this is going to be correct, but the way I'm going to interpret that is we would have to get out of the car, but with the intention of getting closer, but then we wouldn't be able to do anything. So I think that for the mission, it would make more sense to attack, which would be a 7+ on that scout, with just the 1 die from the card. Got a 5, okay. New turn. I'm not entirely sure if that was the correct interpretation, but I think if it wasn't, for the purposes of the mission, it's not too bad, he says. And I want to, we've got the scout, great. I don't have any way to inspire though. Let's do the anti-tank rifleman. No, let's not. Let's do the engineer as our initiative bid. I'm choosing not to because we've got vehicles approaching. And we get to keep the initiative. This is remarkable. So our lieutenant will command. I want a couple of extra cars to see what's going to happen. We have an anti-tank and the staff sergeant. Awesome. Okay. We will use our scout to scout 2. No, we can't because he's suppressed. Damn it. Okay. Right. Okay, that's so frustrating. We're going to have to use our staff sergeant to get out of the vehicle. He's just got in. And then he will scout over there. Placing a card there and taking the fog of war into the discard. You know, I have got a horrible feeling I did not take the fogs of war for those 3 tiles. I have a horrible suspicion I didn't, so I'm going to take them now. Because there doesn't seem to be many fog of war coming up in my hand, so apologies for that. The scout will flip back up, and then the anti-tank rifleman has 2 turns. I think I'd use both on the scout car there. So 2 anti-tank turns against that, hitting on a 5+. Yep, hit it once, and I'll damage that scout. And then I will hit it a second time with the second card, hitting it again. So we will have hopefully another enemy scout in this pile somewhere. I don't think we do. So check the deck. No, check the bolster pile. Yes, the scouts are still buried in that bolster pile. And that's the turn, meaning the AI gets 2 cards plus a third. Okay, so fog of war, that's not so good. Platoon sergeant and the tank driver. So the platoon sergeant, I believe, will bolster or roll a die. I suspect, yep, roll a die. 1 to 4 we bolster. 6 to 10 we command. So we've got a 9, so we command. Now the command will command 4-2, and we take the 2 cards off the deck as normal, but we place them in the initiative order and resolve them in initiative order. So 2, Fog of War, that's a bit rubbish for the AI, but good for me. The riflemen will take their turn now. And the rifleman, when I find the card, will won't attack because we're too far away. So we will move 1 space towards. Oh no, we can't move 1 space. We're still not scouted, so we will attack, but at a distance, which is priority 4. So 1, 2. That's 8 to hit that scout. 5. Okay. Tank driver will almost certainly move, don't you think? Yep, we drive 1 towards the appropriate tile with the scout on, and those 2 go into the discard. Right, let's see if I can keep that initiative for another turn. I suppose that's the downside of a random initiative draw, isn't it? Either that, or I've just had the benefit of, perhaps those Fog of War cards should have come in a bit earlier, I don't know, but hopefully you're still getting a sense of how this works. The Staff Sergeant will be kept, so the Saboteur will be used for the initiative. And again, we have the initiative. So the Staff Sergeant will move, or will scout, back into that truck. And then the Warrant Officer will... Do you know what? I think that Warrant Officer will inspire the Scout to drive that truck and head over here, hoping to pick up the Scout fairly soon. And then the Engineer will probably shoot at the Scout car, so he's going to hit on a 9. No hits. 3 cards for the pot. We have, okay, order they were drawn, which I think was that. When they're tied, the initiative, the order that we're drawn. We have the tank crewman, the gunner, and the driver. So the crewman, the scouts got 7. We're going to try and suppress, and we're going to try and suppress that scout with 4 dice. No. Okay, so the crewman's been ineffective. The gunner is suppressed currently, so I believe you unsuppress as normal, and then the tank driver, if I recall correctly, will drive like so. Getting closer with that tank. Let's do the initiative with the... Well, the Saboteur would be quite good against the tank, actually. Let's do the gunner. It's a low initiative value of just 3, but let's do the gunner. We'll try and... No, our luck has gone. We have got to face the challenge now of the medium tank, and the AI has 4 cards. Okay, tank commander going first. I believe he will inspire the next 2, which will mean the gunner will go 4 times, which just makes me weep thinking about that. Yeah, the gunner's going to inspire the next 2 matching cards. So the tank gunner is going to probably fire at our scout 4 times. Ouch. Okay. Plus side, if there is a plus side, is that the gunner will not be using the anti-tank. Mind you, having said that, it does say seats vehicle action anti-tank, yes. Enemy vehicle with total defense of less than 7, yes. So it's actually going to attack, at least in the first instance, that light truck with the Staff Sergeant in. So 3 die, hitting on a 5. which sucks because there's no cover on that tile. So on a 5 for the first action, unsurprisingly. Do some damage, and the Staff Sergeant's going to get injured. So in the hand, no. In the discard, Staff Sergeant is injured. Second attack then, using the first inspired action, again hits. So another damage on that truck, and the Staff Sergeant is again injured. Oh dear, I think we're facing the full wrath of this tank now. So that was those two cards. The tank gunner will attack again. Again shooting at that light truck on a 5, so that has actually hit. So that's the third. That is disabled because of the damage. Staff Sergeant takes another wound. I don't know how many of these are left actually, because we still have one attack, and yeah, it's going to be a fourth attack on that truck. Yep, hit it again. That's 4 damage on the truck, and the Staff Sergeant. If there is no Staff Sergeant in here, the chap is dead. But we do have Staff Sergeants left, remarkably. Do you know what I did? I discarded the Warrant Officer by mistake because I was looking for the 8, so that guy shouldn't have been discarded. This guy should have been discarded. So now we have a problem because the next hit, that guy will be dead. Okay. The driver will move onto the target hex because that's already been scouted. What was looking to be quite good is now looking to be quite unfortunate for the LRDG, but we're on the same hex as an anti-tank gunner, or the tank is, so 2 dice on that medium tank, 5+ to do some damage. Yes, we do, and we're gonna damage that gunner, so the gunner's out of the game with a wound now on the tank. Just realised it should be like that. The Saboteur is in the truck. Yeah, let's take the Saboteur out of the gun truck and then use the first action to move, and then the second action to try and do a demolition action. 2 dice hitting on a 5+ on that tank, and we've hit the tank, and I'll do the damage on the gunner again. Okay, that feels like it's evened the odds a little bit, but I'm not sure. Okay. Our initiative bid is Scout. Scout could make a run for it. We're going to keep that Scout. Okay, the Saboteur, the anti-tank, is going to be used for initiative, so that's a 4. It was the I thought I could run out with the Italian with the initiative, so I think the Italians did have the initiative last turn. We need to draw one. We've got 7. Oh dear. So that is Italian initiative again. With 3 cards: a squad leader, a crewman, an anti-tank rifleman, and the recon aircraft. Right, well, the recon aircraft is probably going to shoot or strafe that scout, I'm sure. Recon, strafe the scout. 1 die, 6+, that scout is hit. I rolled a 6, so the scout is hit. So that card is now out of the game. The squad leader will bolster the inspire. I think it's the matching 2, which is going to be the anti-tank guy. when I find the card, yeah, inspire the next two, so that chap will be inspired when the time comes. Crewman will, on the same tile now as that scout, so the crewman will attack because the value of the scout is less than or equal to 6, but we do not have 3 damage yet on that tank. So 1 die, 6 plus the scout is hit, rolled a 10, scout has been hit, there's nothing there, nothing there. So let's look at the deck. Where are we at to with those scouts? No. No scouts in the deck, no scouts in hand, no scouts in the discard pile, which means all 4 scouts must be over there in the deceased pile, meaning the Italians have won the game. Frustrating, very frustrating. I felt like I got close with that one. Certainly closer than that first scenario we just had a bash at. So that then is the AI for scenario 7 of Undaunted Reinforcements. Hopefully that's given you a good sense between this playthrough and the very quick playthrough at the beginning of the game, and of course also the previous video where I looked just at the multiplayer game. Hopefully it's given you a sense of how the game works and differences between the AI controlled bot enemy and how you would work the regular units. Of course, the scenario would play differently with the LRDG bot. Tons of replayability, but quite a bit to manage, I feel, especially if you're not familiar with the multiplayer game. Anyway, that's that for this video. Like, subscribe, all that sort of thing if you did enjoy this, and if you stuck this far, thank you. Quite a long playthrough this one, I think. When I come to edit it, I'm sure it'll be longer than I think it is. Anywho, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.